We recommend a receivership when the lenders or even the board, frankly, has lost faith in management and they're looking for adult supervision. But again, that's Aaron's role. Aaron comes in as a voice of reason, an outsider. Aaron, when you come in, what is your mandate? What are you typically trying to do, and in what time period?
So actually, I'd love to just very quickly pick up on something both Matt and Claudia spoke to. Matt talked about opportunities that arise to buy businesses for virtually nothing. That is a failure of a group of directors if that happens, right? Because what has essentially happened is the company has died. And it has died because it ran out of liquidity. You can go a very long time with negative earnings. You can go a very long time without sales, but you cannot go a long time without liquidity. That is the vital metric to be watching in most companies, and it is what should be triggering actions. What Claudia is referring to and being in a position where she is not exercising foreclosure, that is a reflection, presumably, of boards that are being responsive, clear about their fiduciary duties, responsive to the concerns of their lenders, and trying to maximize value. So when I get onto a board, often that is a reflection of the fact that there has been a crisis of confidence as well as a crisis of liquidity. And so one of the very first things I need to do is to establish a rapport with the key stakeholders. And by that, I mean the most senior lenders to the business, but also the equity holders who maybe have lost faith and lost confidence in the business and therefore are not opening up their wallets to continue investing in the business. It's sort of a softer piece. The harder, science piece of it is to get your arms around the runway that the company does in fact have, where it is spending its money, and start making some decisions about what are and what are not prudent investments that the business is making, and figure out where there might be sources of incremental liquidity to keep lengthening out that runway and give enough time for the business to turn. The third piece is clearly talent, and the question of whether you have the right people in the right positions at the company. So if you buy more time, but you still have the wrong people, those pilots are still not going to get the plane to fly, right? And so being able to quickly assess that and bring in the right people. And then fourth, obviously, is when you determine that there isn't an internal solution, quickly moving to some sort of process to effectuate a sale of some or all of the assets of the business. And that's where David's group comes in, and, like in most things, the more time you have to do something, the better shot you're going to have a successful outcome. So alacrity and speed with which you make those types of decisions are pretty critical. And, I think at the end of the day, one of the big reasons why people put independent directors like myself in those positions.
Extending the runway is vital. As Matt can attest, you often don't have months of cash flow left. You may only have weeks. So Matt, talk about that. How quickly can you move? What do you need to do to get in a position to make even an initial offer when you don't have 6 months to diligence a company?
So in a lot of these situations, it is very short fuse. So a lot of it is being able to figure out the large areas to diligence and quickly focusing on those. Like I said, a lot of these situations, it's going to come with a very lean management team. So we really have to diligence management. Can they right-size this business and get it to back on track? One thing we've really emphasized recently is starting to use AI tools. AI is the hot topic. It's very useful for diligence. It's very useful for some of the mundane tasks that typically you would need a sea of analysts to do. You can just put all the contracts into SharePoint and just say, co-pilot, summarize these, which ones have non-assignment clauses. You couldn't do that before. You would need like teams of attorneys getting $1,000 an hour to do that. Now you can do that in 15 minutes. So that's changing the dynamics, but you still need to have the rational skill set, understanding the fundamental economics of the business, and figuring out what you can do to save the business. In these situations where it's a very short fuse, sometimes we'll have weeks to do diligence. So you have to focus on the key points. And because typically the transaction values are so low, you're taking that risk. When you're buying something for a fraction of asset liquidation value or a fraction of what the revenue was last year, you can afford to take that risk and perhaps not dot all the T's and I's that you would in a normal transaction.